All right. Why I think boomers is the worst generation in America ever. So, from my experience, when I was buying my first home, I didn't have enough money for a down payment. Being a single dad, paying child support, at the time I was going through a custody battle, um, paying all types of fines and fees, and um, I'll talk about that mess some other time. So what do? You look at your family for support. So at this time, my father, who is just a very hard person to read, and sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not. He just really just leaves me confused in a lot of things that he does. However, he started looking at places for me to live, and I even told him, I was like, dude, I'm going through a custody battle. Um, all of my money that I've saved up is going into this. And at the time, I had about at least right around 15, about 15,000 saved up. And my court fees and everything, lawyers, the lawyers alone took 15 grand. Um, because I had to get about there was I got three lawyers, and then there was a guardian ad litem. And I'll talk about that in another time. However, I just thought it was a really stupid idea to be looking at a home while I'm in this situation. So that's another thing with boomers. They're just not in reality at all. They don't think logically. Um, they come up with ideas at the completely wrong time. They don't make sense. They're very selfish. They're untrustworthy. Just everything. They don't really have very good characteristics. They called them the me generation, and I think that's totally appropriate. So, anyways, he's looking at this property. I finally am like, all right, I'll go look at it, even though I can't afford this. And meanwhile, at the time, I was working 6 days a week in order to pay for all of this. 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, commuting an hour and a half, 2 hours each way. So, yeah, I'm worn out. And so I'm going, I look at this property, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. This is amazing. It was, I always wanted some land and get back into nature. It's almost like being on the beach. And so I'm looking at this property. I'm like, man, this is it. Like, I'll do anything to get this property. And so push come to shove, I save up all the money I could, which amounted to it was about 10 grand initially. And um, my parents were able to help me with the rest. So the property, it had a cabin, old log cabin on it. And the property was about $125,000, right? Was what it was listed for, 6 acres and a cabin on it. And this was 2021. And so the market wasn't crazy like it was shortly after this. So it was a great time to buy. Um, so what we had to do though, since the cabin was pretty much condemned, we had to pay it in cash, right? So thankfully, gratefully at the time, I'm not really that grateful. It's just been a mess after. And this is what boomers do. They build you up and kind of break you down. And so we end up, I guess, they financed it somehow. They took money off the house, type deal. So we were able to buy it in cash. And with my 10 grand, we actually, I believe, got the house down to like around 105,000. So with taxes and stuff, it went back to like, I don't know, probably around 120, right? So we go ahead, we do that, we get it, and everything's good. Then it comes to getting a loan, to remodel the house. So we get a loan, and the problem was um, there's a time thing, and also, this was told to me that it was gonna be mine. This was gonna be my future house, right? And so I'm under the impression this is going to be my dream cabin. I was so like happy. I was so enthusiastic, and I just really felt like things were turning around. So, I'm putting all this money into it. I'm, through the court, got everything custody wise finished. I'm working on this cabin, putting everything I can. I probably put another $20,000 into the cabin. There was a big bamboo patch I had to take out. That was 4 grand. The property wasn't properly surveyed, so I had to pay a surveyor, a lawyer to get it resurveyed and re all that stuff, and then that was $6,000 for all that. We also like the land wasn't done right, so we had to like get the neighbor involved, and it was a really big ordeal. Um, but anyways, so finally we get to the loan. So we get the loan to remodel the house. So when we get the loan to remodel the house, we start remodeling it. And my dad's in construction, so he was able to get a lot of material for next to nothing. So all said and done, we did everything. I spent every day off. I was working a dead end kind of job, so I ended up going to like a travel agency where I was able to make like double or triple my income. So I did that. My dad was like, "Oh, don't do that." And that's another boomer thing. They're so negative, and they lead you in the wrong direction. So this was actually my decision. I went against what they suggested. I got this travel job, and that was the best decision of my life. So I was making a lot of money. I was able to work less, spend more time building this cabin, and put all my extra money into the cabin. So I was renting skid loaders, all types of stuff, material, trash dumpsters, all that's very expensive. And so we get it all done. I got my uncle involved too. We get it all done, and it went uh, fairly okay. There was a lot of things that I didn't like that I wanted done that he um, opted out. So one was he wanted like it all drywalled, right? I wanted some of the logs exposed. So we kind of met in the middle. I had some of the logs exposed, whatever. And then I wanted a septic, because I'm kind of a prepper. And um, he kind of wanted a temporary septic. And then, like, the survey thing kind of messed it all up. So we had to do the temporary septic. But I was under the impression they said eventually we'll do the real septic. We had the well, which I liked the well. And then, like, the porch, like, he was kind of that mindset of just get her done, as quick as possible. Um, so the porch, when we were building it, was um, he just wanted to like literally put it on a couple rocks, like put the um, porch foundation, like joists, like literally run it on a couple rocks on the ground. And I was like, no, dude. Let's drill. And this is from a construction guy who's been a carpenter his whole life. And it was just that, like, get her done, like, quick as possible. He, like, that's the first thing he wanted to do on the cabin was just, like, build this porch. And I'm like, dude, we need to worry about, like, the chinking needs to be redone. The foundation is crap. Like, we won't have access because it covers the crawl space.